thought was some really, really cool content that had come out of that he wasn't sure if most people had caught. So Country Wayne is giving all this free game on how he built his business. And he leveraged social media to create content and then partnered with Facebook, then partnered with Netflix and did all this stuff in ownership. And Roland Martin took all that and broke down the importance of how we as people of color so often create things that we then give away.
This business podcast, the Two Business Guys Mastermind, uncovers for you secrets and share tips and tricks to entrepreneurship as they mastermind on how to have startup, operational, and overall business success so that you can go on to get better results. Enjoy. So, hey, everybody, today's episode is going to be a special one. Typically, I got Rob, he's my longtime co-host, but today we're going to be bringing the fire because we got Chris Mathis. I was able to finally run this guy down and get him on Zoom. Now, don't get me wrong. Chris and I do a lot of stuff together, right? Chris has put money in my pockets by saying, hire that guy. And I'm like, thank you, Chris. But today, this is the special treat. We're going to be talking about something Chris got really, really excited about. I already knew about it because I had watched it earlier, but I got even more excited when Chris brought me this piece of information. So we want to share it with y'all. We want this to be a lesson-oriented thing. I want you to get your pen and paper out, y'all. I want you to be taking notes. But before we get into all that, Chris, I'm going to have you. Now, I could brag up on this guy all day long, right? And at certain times, I can put my fist up when we was in business together. It's like, look, I'm going to fight you on this one. But I'm going to brag on him. I'm going to let him go ahead and talk about the things that he's into. We're multi-hyphenates, y'all, so get ready. Chris, tell us a little bit about the stuff that you do. Tell our audience what you get into, man. We'll get into the lesson.
I am wearing a number of hats right now. I think to give the short answer, speaker. I've been a professional speaker for 17 years. I'm an author, entrepreneur of multiple businesses. My newest venture right now, Let's Help Her Win, a new reality series that's releasing next month. I executive produced that. I'm an investor in a number of other small businesses. Raise a Glass Wine Tours, the first city style wine tour in Michigan. I just love to play in this space of business, man. I think, and I know we share that passion of just investing in things that help people and things that they have to make money. With that, so that's really me in a nutshell, man. I mean, husband, father, serving in my community, things that are important to me, and just anything I can do to serve and help people.
Yeah, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking a lot about something y'all hear me say all the time: digital real estate. Creating something once, maximizing it, and earning from it forever. Now, Chris, just recently I was reading about Michael Jackson selling a part of his catalog for $500 million. Now, I thought, wait a minute, didn't he sell some of it before? Yes, 2016, $750 million.
Yep.
Created something once, y'all. And now his family is eating on it forever. That's what we're going to really highlight today. And Chris saw something online, and I want to jump right into the lesson because when people hear two marketing guys talk, we start getting into theory, it can just get out of hand. But we want to talk to y'all today about is how to turn what you see into and hear into income. I like to call it going from idea to income. Right? So when you get this idea that you can quickly build a framework, and Chris has a number of frameworks, I think we want to get into that a little bit. But Chris, tell me about what was it that you saw that got you all excited? Chris said he was walking his house. He got so far, and it must have been about 2 a.m, I bet.
I was online and I was watching something totally unrelated. It was a complete another video. My phone was just sitting there. I'm listening to it play in the background. That initial video that I was watching first stopped, and then it automatically played the next video. And the next video was an interview of Shannon Sharpe with his Uncle Shay Shay podcast and Country Wayne. And Roland Martin had taken a segment of that interview and broke down what he thought was some really, really cool content that had come out of that he wasn't sure if most people had caught. So Country Wayne is giving all this free game on how he built his business. And he leveraged social media to create content and then partnered with Facebook, then partnered with Netflix and did all this stuff in ownership. And Roland Martin took all that and broke down the importance of how we as people of color so often create things that we then give away and we sell and we pass on and we never reap the full benefits of the way others will. And so he told a whole story around that. And you already know, Randy, this is something you and I are both very passionate about is ownership and residuals and creating things that are going to pay a royalty on the back end to us and so on. And so when I saw that, the way he explained it was like, okay, this is good. I hadn't heard it that way before. And I knew of Country Wayne, but I didn't know his full story, the way I learned it after watching that original interview and then hearing Roland Martin talk about it. And it just got me hyped, man. I was just hyping the moment thinking like, okay, this is really good. Like, I've got this thing over here. I've got this I'm working on. We got the show coming out. We're keeping the ownership of the show. We're having early conversations on this and that and so on. I don't have to sell the rights to anything that I own. I can license those rights. I can get distribution contracts. It's understanding that level of business and to Roland's point of me and quoting him, understanding the business of show business.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of us understand that. A lot of us think that we have to create it, we got to sell it, we have to give it away, we got to part ways with it, we get one-time check and then we're done. But the problem with it is when that one-time check runs out, that ideal is gone and we got to come up with a whole new ideal all over again. Versus learning what it means to license something, license that content to the right player, let that right player take it over for, let's say, 3 years of the license, and you get a residual check for the next 3 years. And then when the 3 year is over, you relicense it or you license it to someone else. And then they get you a check for another 3 years. But either way, at the end of the day, you still own all the content. And so that is a part of the model that I've done as well. I mean, Let's Help Her Win has a similar model to that. My first book I wrote, I own the rights to. Like, that is the way we should be doing business. It really is. And Tyler Perry has built a business off doing that same model. Country Wayne has done it, and there's others obviously, but it's really helping people understand the importance of knowing the importance of ownership and how to work in that space, and then how to leverage those things and move them forward.
Yeah, see, and I hope everybody that's listening, listen, you grab these nuggets because they'll fall to the floor, right? And then you come and says, hey, there's some nuggets on the floor. Well, we say, well, where's your satchel? Because you want to pick them up. And that was just some stuff dropped on the floor. Now, Chris and I, we got this running joke. We call it, hey, stop creating cupcake and beads bracelet businesses. you know, and this is what we mean. We don't, that's a metaphor. The cupcake is a metaphor for something that you build, it, you eat it, it's gone, right? You poop it out. And then the bracelets metaphor is this. You pull on it, it's chintzy, it breaks. So we say, stop building businesses that you consume and poop out, or that you could pull on easy and they break. Get that metaphor, y'all. We've got people that we know that actually build cupcakes, and we know people that do bracelets, right? But we look at this metaphor and we ask ourselves, what is it's going to outlast us? I literally, man, I was at this commission thing downtown. And, actually something you turned me on to, he said, hey, I want you to meet this guy. And then he connected me with a panel. So on the panel, they were asking us, hey, tell us a little bit about your business and blah, 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 right? And I says, hey, look, I create and help people create digital real estate because I want to give you a location flexibility. Boom. So you can move about the country. I want to give you income flexibility and be able to uncap your earnings. And then I says, hey, listen, no shame, no harm, no foul to anybody that's working a 9 to 5, but we want to leverage that. But when we talk about business, and when Chris heard what Roland Martin was saying, and I watched the whole video because he sent the link out to me and Jamel Eddy, right? He said, y'all need to stop what you're doing right now and look at this, right? And then we looked at it and it was like, listen, build something that goes on. Build something that gives you flexibility, whether it's location, you can move about the country and go to Thailand or whatever you want to, right? Or something that uncaps this thing that a job tells you you're going to earn every year. And I said, this is what I said. I says, imagine trying to pass on your job to somebody, right? To your loved ones. Hey, I worked here 20 years. Y'all next. That ain't the way it works. And they cracked up. So listen, when we think about getting away from this ideal of cupcake and bead bracelet businesses, this is what we're saying. Create something that you have that you can maximize. Now, I remember once, Chris, I sent you, and I want to be able to let this be a lesson.
Hmm.
Chris had did a speaking engagement, right? And I saw it. I was like, oh man, it says you got some things in here that's so dope, that's so highlightable. So I went and got I said, hey, send me the transcript, or now send me the actual video. So I transcribed it. I don't know if you ever did anything with this, but it was my way of saying, now create from this. And he's probably
I want
going,
to say
what are
I
you talking
remember it.
about? Create from this. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a speaking engagement that you did.
yeah.
It was a short one, maybe a
Years ago, I
couple of
think.
minutes. No, it was just a couple of years ago. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
well, yeah, it was a couple of years ago.
yeah.
So what I did was, y'all, is I was able to transcribe it because I got software that does that. Transcribed it and then send it back to Chris. But the ideal is this: we could then take that transcription, put links in it, put those links out, and now we've got AI that we can load that text up. Y'all know this was Chris. This was pre GPTs,
Absolutely.
pre Bard or Gemini or whatever they're calling themselves now, pre all of that. Now, the fact that you did the speaking engagement, you now have the transcription. That
Yep.
then from the transcription, and now this is the lesson to y'all, is you then highlight it, and I got some videos on it somewhere out there in my YouTube channel. Highlight them, link them to products. Highlight them, link them to services that you offer. Highlight them, put them in a PowerPoint format. Did y'all hear what I just said? Put them in a PowerPoint
Yeah.
format, throw the PowerPoint on SlideShare with
Yep.
links in it that lead back to other stuff.
That's good.
Do it once, multiply it, repurpose it forever. That becomes the opportunity. Even in a 2 minute, and I think it was a real quick
Hmm.
2 minute blurb. Now, because you heard Chris is a multi-hyphenate, I don't like to call us serial entrepreneurs. I don't like that serial part, right? But multi-hyphenates can go out there and have interesting lives with what we do. Now, something you said also, Chris, that really got me excited, man. You says, listen, when I was listening to Roland Martin, he says, you know, in there, he's using that storytelling format that you love to talk about. So I want
Yeah.
to share this with our audience. Give us a little bit of this new one, the old one first, and
Yeah.
then the new one, that storytelling framework.
Yeah. I've learned that well, let me give you the background on that. I studied story. So I've been studying story for well over a decade. And I made trips to New York. I took film classes. I've read all the books. I've done all these things. And what I learned when I started studying story was that when you look at the way a movie is made and the way a movie tells a story, there are so many similarities to how a story in a movie aligns with how we tell story in business. So
Mhm.
I'm thinking, okay, how do I take the principles that I know to be taught in film and apply them to business and then teach story for business the exact same way to show businesses how to connect with their customers? So, what I've learned is every main story, or every good story, I should say, has a main character.
Main
And in
character.
the story with the main character is oftentimes faced with an obstacle that they have to overcome to achieve a goal. Translation: in business, there's a main character, the customer, who is faced with a problem that they have to overcome to achieve a goal. If you look at the way, and I don't want to ruin movies for anyone, but in
Runa.
every movie, it starts with an opening scene and a closing scene. And one of the rules of thumb with film is your opening scene has to be the opposite of your closing scene. So it's not uncommon to see in the Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith, he walks in as this guy who's preparing to go through these life situations with his son, but he walks out working for this major stock company. The scenes have to be the total opposite. It's not uncommon to see the guy walk into the story as a homeless guy struggling with life, but walk out as a very rich guy who has found his space. So when we think about it from a customer standpoint, that customer is coming in with this painful problem
Mhm.
and they're looking to come out with a solution that solves that problem. The next piece of that story, when you look at a good movie, is there are three areas that a movie will highlight for that main character: work, home, and play.
Mhm.
They show them at work, they show their home life, and they show them play, whether it's with kids, whether it's activities, whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
So when you look at it again, you look at it in business, Bounty, for example, they will take the camera right into the house and they show us the family and they show the interaction. They show what they're doing. You look at any good story of a movie, they take us in the house and they show us these three aspects of the lifestyle that person is going through. It's the same in our business. When we communicate with our customers, we need to tell a story that helps the customer understand that we understand where you're at. We understand how difficult it can be to get a date night when you and your husband work opposite shifts. We understand how difficult it is to find time to do these things when the kids have homework, you got to make dinner, and they also have sports. That's telling the story. I'm going to
Mhm.
identify their home life, their work life, and their play life all in that one message. The customer sees this, they gravitate to it, they say, "You're telling my story." Then the next piece of that I would say oftentimes that happens is what we would call the catalyst moment. A catalyst moment in a film is oftentimes where the main character is going through something and their entire life is flipped upside down.
Mhm.
This is when something bad happens. Life was good. I'm going through life, and then all of a sudden, the car crash, the train wreck, the robber shows up and steals my car. I'm in the bank, and he sticks up the bank. It's always something. Well, it's the same in life. This customer is going through their day, and then all of a sudden, the problem
Right.
happens, and
Right.
now they're seeking out your solution to solve and address their problem. So, how do you tell that story to the customer that I understand these things and I understand your problem, and here's the solution that we've created for your problem that will be the thing that helps you get over to achieve the goal that you're after? So, it's really learning to understand all that. And I love teaching this stuff. I love teaching it in a classroom setting where we can sit down and map it all out and brainstorm and draw it on the board and everything else. But that would be like a nutshell of what that looks like when you think through how do you tell a story in your business.
Yeah, and I read, man, I can't tell you when I was, and I've written, 6 books, six or
Nice.
seven. And here's the thing, man, I was learning, I had to teach myself. I had to
Yeah.
really unlearn what I learned in university. I kid you not. I
Yep.
remember being in university and, I have a master's degree and all that kind of stuff. And I said, the way that I have to write these papers are killing me. They were
Yep.
killing my creative juju. It was just killing me because you have to write, either you write an MLA or you write an APA. But here's what happened. This is what saved me. I was able to turn everything into a story,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that was my first foray into it. By that time, I had, a couple of books out there and all that kind of stuff. And I had read maybe, I counted them once. I think it was like 30 to 40 different books on writing, from
Nice.
conflict to suspense to story to
Yep.
all of the screenwriting books, the show
Yep.
don't tell. But here's what you said and how that hits my ear and how we relate that to business. Now, why we say, what is this storytelling style? What is this Hollywood style? And now how do we create it in our business is because there are people on the other end of your product and services. There's
Yep.
people that may buy that product and service and boom, you got to hit them with the action. That's the hook. Now look
Most
at any
people,
movie.
most entrepreneurs spend all their energy trying to figure out how to sell. When, in my opinion, you should be spending most of your energy trying to figure out how to tell a better story.
That's it. How to
If you figure
compel.
out that's it. If you figure out how to tell a better story, the product and service will sell itself through the power of the story. And to your point, it creates the residual that you're after. You no longer have to show up at every single time to
That's
close
right,
the deal because the story, the software, the systems will do all the work for you.
man.
That's how we got time to be here.
And that's so
Our
powerful,
businesses doing
y'all.
what they do.
Yeah, and it becomes a powerful opportunity for y'all as y'all hear this, right? And we're going to dig into the actual thing that got Chris all excited, the actual story, and I'll probably put that in some links and all that kind of stuff. And I'll definitely link to Chris's stuff, whatever you want to jump into or whatever area. Maybe we'll create something together. We're creating this separately, and Chris and I do
Mm-hmm.
this all the time, right? We
Mm-hmm.
will. I remember we went to Battle Creek, and
Yeah.
right, Chris said, "Hey, man." This is a part of the storytelling process because at the beginning of a story, you don't want to push people away quickly. So he says, well, based on where we're going, you might not want to wear a suit and tie because
I remember
based on where
that.
we're going, he says, because
Yeah.
you have to consider the audience.
Yeah.
You come on and you're Mr. Blah, they're going to go, I'm not listening to that guy because
Yep.
I'm not where he's at. I'm
Yep.
not doing what you just said earlier, understanding where you are. So I was like, okay. So I put on a sweater, and boy, did it matter. And then we went in and did the thing. And what we would typically do, y'all, now y'all getting us together. And this took a little bit for us to kind of get together and y'all
Yeah.
seeing this.
Yeah.
Because what we typically do is live, right? We'll do it live, going into a classroom. Chris will do his thing, on marketing, putting in these story elements, and then I'll come in talking about digital marketing and now connecting it to make some money. So now you're going to be able to get both of us at the same time. But there's something, man, about watching that Country Wayne video. It reinvigorated me because I've been watching this stuff for a couple of years now, right? During the pandemic, and he even said it, hey, during the pandemic, he had basically the perfect storm. You had
Yeah.
people sitting around looking to be entertained.
Yep.
He came on with, guess what? Short skits that
That's your
entertain you.
story.
And the
Yeah.
all of them told a story
Yep.
from beginning to end, and even how he faded it out. And then get this, it wasn't 100% pristine. He was using his phone. It was 100%. He would one take. That's something I heard about, man. I was listening to something online about how Prince created music. He says the lady says either he says we did it every day. For her, it was a job. He said he came to the studio if he wasn't on a date or touring. They were in the studio creating.
And
And
he
he
did.
says
He was
one
doing
takes.
downloads of music before Apple was doing it with the podcast or
Yeah.
the iPods and all the other stuff. He was already doing it through a website.
And what does he
So
got
that
now? A
creating that
vault.
residual income that you're talking about, he was already doing those things. Genius.
And this is one of the things that when we have these kind of talks, y'all, when you're listening to it and we go, you may look at it and go, ah, man, this thing's an hour. I'm not gonna listen to an hour. But within that hour, you've gotten all this gold nuggets. Now it's not our fault if you don't pick it up. You didn't bring a satchel and you gotta like grab it and try to stuff it in your pockets, or you say, oh, I forgot it. I'm wearing a swimsuit. I have no pockets. Get it somehow, some way. You can rewind or whatever. Maybe we'll even put a course out there for you.
And
But
I mean, I
listen,
would even add to that though, Randy, too. It's not common that you get this level of content for free. I mean, that's just the reality of it. You don't get this level of content, this level of expertise being offered for free every day by many people. So take the time to listen to it. Take the time to take it all in. Take the time to listen to it a second or third time if you need to make sure that you're capturing all the nuggets because it only takes a few of those nuggets to be the thing that takes you from 0 to 100 to 250 to 500 to $1 million, and
bro,
you're crushing it.
in no
So
time less. I'm reading this book right now, man. Now I took this guy's course a couple years ago, but let me see if y'all can see this. All right. $1 Million Weekend, right? $1 Million Weekend by Noah Kagan. Now I've been following Noah for a long time. Watch his journey. I buy the software. He owns AppSumo. I buy software from them all the time. And he says the surprisingly simple way to launch a seven-figure business in 48 hours. Now that's a bold freaking claim.
wow.
But like you said, idea, whether you get it from something you saw, and this is what we should be able to do. We should be able to see something. And I got a framework called the Learn, Create, Get Paid framework, LCGP, right? Learn something in the morning, create by afternoon, and then by evening, we've created buy buttons, digital real estate,
Yeah.
that give people the opportunity to click on that. That's why he talks about doing fast. That's why he said in a weekend, and you never know, right?
Yep.
Be an experimenter.
Yep.
So what from when you looked at the whole Country Wayne, let's pull out some specifics. The Country Wayne interview he did with Shay Shay or Shannon Sharp, right? I'm start calling him Shay Shay, right?
Yeah.
And what did you hear that we can now share with people that just like jumped out at you and says that?
First thing that comes to mind is the ownership piece. And so what we're doing right now when it comes to Less Help Per Win and the way we're rolling it out and the way the ownership is structured, what he was saying was confirmation for me because we're doing the exact same thing. And we were doing this before I heard that. So what does that mean? That means he's trying to figure out how do I shoot content in a lean startup model, meaning I'm not spending a ton of money. I'm doing this as lean and as low cost as possible. So instead of getting all the fancy equipment, I'm just going to use my iPhone. And I'm going to do it with one camera angle. And I'm going to shoot the skit. and then we're going to edit it on some home software, and then we're going to release it. That right there, that right there was enough for me to say, okay, this is good. And the thing that's beautiful about it, and when you look at it, is the goal of this is to create this new content. It's not about selling the thing right now. It's about telling a story that drives the traffic that makes it attractable to the person that has an interest in buying it later.
That's it.
So now that you've got this thing that's attractive, I'm sitting here looking like, man, if I paid $500,000 for that, or if I bought that for $1 million, or whatever the number is, or I license it for that number, and then I put it on my network of Paramount or HBO or Stars or whatever the case may be. And so that right there was the thing that was intriguing. So a lot of us are creating all this content and then we're sharing it for free, which is fine, as long as you have a strategy as to how you're going to monetize it on the back end. And that's the part that's oftentimes missing. We're sharing it to be cool. We're sharing it for fun. One of the things that I've also thought about after watching that was that we as people, entrepreneurs love to search and fight for likes, and they'll do more for likes than they will for a monetized check. And it blows my mind. You'll put this content out there to get the likes, not realizing that someone is going to get paid off of your content no matter what. Why shouldn't it be you? Because Facebook or Twitter or whoever, X now, they're all going to leverage your content to get a check off of you. You might as well make sure you're getting a piece of that pie if there's going to be a money distribution being done with stuff that you created, your face, your image, your kids, your loved ones, your friends, your family, your coworkers.
Yeah.
It only makes sense.
And then you start thinking about, I remember this one guy who builds, he makes a couple $1,000,000 a year. He lives the lifestyle he wants. And his name is Peter Levels, right? And he said he likes to build businesses that he can hang out with his friends and family. He said, so what else is life? And he would literally, when you go on, I think it's on Twitter, Peter Levels, and it's a weird spelling. I think Peter with an R, P-E-T-R, whatever. But you see him like on a laptop, like laid back, chilling. And now he has that income flexibility and that location flexibility. He operates all over, wherever he wants to go. He builds things that earn him enough money, right? And like I say, a couple $1,000,000 a year. And he's very, very, some people don't like to show their money and all that kind of stuff, but he puts it out there. Hey, I made this much from these particular things, right? And they're all online. Yep. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not for you, but this is the lifestyle. I was looking at a podcast once and they were saying even billionaires envy that guy's life. It says that's what, and people were like, but you got $1 billion, you could do it. Yeah, but now I got to protect that billion. Stress. Versus he makes a couple million, he lives where he wants to, he works with people he wants to. So we're saying, hey, and we got demonstrated evidence of people doing it that look like us or that look like you, that come from this, our situations like that. There's no excuse, right? And Chris is good for this. At one point, y'all, I was calling us fire and ice.
Yeah.
Chris would listen to your idea and burn it up, and I had to come and like put some ice on to soothe you, right? But that's it, because we want you to be as good as you possibly can be as we take in new information and then distribute it like we're doing now, so that you can say, this is the life I want to live. This is why I started digital real estate all these years ago, is because I just needed flexibility. I could not go into a job anymore. It got to the point where it was like I had to take care of a loved one. This is, a little bit of my story. I was taking care of a loved one and I was pointing out because I had to miss. They were dying. I was going to take care of them. There was no ifs and buts about it. And I did that for, I think it was 3.5, 4 years. And then, in 2014, she died. But I was going to take care of my parent. You dig what I'm saying? So I had to figure it out. I couldn't go into a job anymore. And once I started creating things that then I could put out there that would pay me as I did my duties, as I did my thing, then you eventually get to the point where you're going, why can't I continue to do that?
I think another piece of that too, Randy, is oftentimes entrepreneurs think about, the ideal of building this business, making more money, but then they're also thinking the trendy term of generational wealth and the ideal of taking care of friends and family. I remember hearing Country Wayne talk about how he's doing $20 million, I think it's a year right now,
Yeah.
and he's got a guy on his team that he's paying $1 million a year
Yeah.
on
Mike.
his team right now.
He said Mike.
Is
Yes, but Mike's a
yeah,
producer.
yes, yes. So it's like my point of saying that is there's nothing wrong with being selfish in your business to scale this thing up to this level so that now the business can afford to pay all of your team a handsome check, pay all of your team a quality lifestyle, or give them a quality lifestyle. It takes care of your family beyond what you can
Yep.
even have, ever have imagined. But to do that, he had to be selfish, meaning I'm going to hoard my content and I'm not going to sell my content. I'm going to figure out ways of monetizing my own content and sharing it with the world. Yes, I'm not going to sell it to you, but I would license it to Netflix and let you guys use it for X amount of time in exchange for this amount of money. That model has allowed him to now take care of his family. He talks about how he his kids and this and that, and
Six
his
figures.
wife and all this
His
stuff. Yes,
oldest kids were making 6 figures.
yes, he's taking care of all these people, and he said that's the blessing in it for him is being able to support all these people. So for me, it's my mindset is how do we do that? How do we do that as a business owner, as an entrepreneur? We come up with these ideas, we create something, and we're thinking to ourselves, man, I really want to do this. But then there's this guilt that comes on of making more money, or a survivor's guilt that kicks in when you don't have
Mm.
the same lifestyle as all the people around you. And what I'm saying is there's nothing wrong with being selfish, saying, I want to scale this thing up to X amount of whatever that number is for you. And when it gets there, the blessing that I can then be to others is the value.
Yeah. And
That
you're gonna
makes it
work for
worth
it,
it.
right? We're not
Absolutely.
gonna give it to you, but you come
Absolutely.
on and work. You see people on
Absolutely.
set, and I watched them for about 2 years, and then I got busy with other stuff. And then when I came back, I was like, who are these new people? Well, those are new
Mm-hmm.
people. He says now he's in a position to buy content and put it out under his banner, right?
Yes.
Now that's what we call that. I was reading his book once, and the guy says person of influence. He says, POI, not person of interest, person of influence. He says sometimes, and Chris, I've seen you do this. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
didn't have a name for it, but you'll say, hey, look, I'm Chris Mathis. People know me. Let me come in and be that person of influence for your business where people go, oh, he's involved. We've done that together, right?
Absolutely.
When
Absolutely.
we've invested in a couple of things and we go, it's kind of a crapshoot. We don't know if this is going to work,
Yep.
but because we can come in and do the best we can and give
Yep.
it maybe, we may run out of powder. That's fine. But at
Yep.
least you're out there trying continuously and taking those lessons, not those L's, but those lessons.
I have no problems with the businesses that we work with leveraging me to gain an audience. And we've encouraged it through Let's Help Her Win, all of my partnerships,
Yep.
graduates from Spring GR, et cetera. Like it's okay to tag me in that post and talk about a session that we had or a conversation because what it does is it invites the people that are in my audience who have never heard of you to come and take a look to see why you're
Exactly.
talking about Chris Mathis. And so I believe that when we do this, there's two types of people. You have the very immature entrepreneur that says he just wants a bunch of attention. He just wants to be tagged so he can get recognized. Failing to realize, and I'm going to be honest, I don't need you. I have an international audience already, so I don't need this. Then you've got the second person that says, I understand the strategy of what Chris is saying to me. If I leverage him this way, I then bring his audience over, who then become an audience of mine. They now become fans of me. They now become new followers. And now I don't need Chris anymore because now I've gained this audience.
Man.
That is the way that every entrepreneur, at least a mature entrepreneur, will be thinking about this. It's not about a name recognition for any of us. It's about you learning to leverage strategically how we do it. We've seen this in music, where an artist will have a feature on
Yep.
their CD
Exactly.
or song
Exactly.
or their whatever. We've seen it in movies where two big name actors will partner together. Beyonce's doing country music now and working with others. We're seeing this kind of a crossover happen all the time. So again, mature entrepreneurs understand the strategies that come out of things like this and why you leverage the other name and how they can leverage yours, and together you both win.
And I was watching this episode that Usher was on. He was on, I think, the Breakfast Club, right? And he says, listen,
Mm-hmm.
he says, I'm now, and this is one of those another moments where you go owning my own stuff. He says, I'm now able to be an independent artist. Wait a
That's
minute.
great.
What? I thought the independent artist was the people that, it's like the self-published author, right? Now
Yeah.
we know Stephen King could right now self-publish and bam, because his audience is built.
Yep.
Now, guess what? Your profit margins go up. This is the
Yep.
business lesson, y'all. When you own your own tapes, right? If y'all
Yep.
remember tapes back in the day, you own your own stuff. You
Good.
then can send it to people that do the jingles, and you then can, get your music used in all of the TikTok videos and all that kind of stuff and grab your own stuff. From an established perspective, you could do that.
That's good.
Now, what he's showing us is something, guess what? I remember reading about Byron Allen doing the same thing back in the day. I was
Yep.
like, this guy comes on at 1:30 at night, but didn't know that he was building a
Yeah.
foundation of products he owned instead of going to a theater or going to a place and saying, hey, listen, I got this show. Will you put it on? Here's a pilot. And then they say, yeah, we'll test it, but we own it.
Yep.
They get their money, and then he says, no, I'll produce it, I'll create the shows,
Yep.
and then I will partner with you.
He's got
If
about 50 shows under his. I was literally just reading about him yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. And then who else comes along and does the same thing? Tyler Perry. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So you're saying that we've got blueprints. Now let's go even further back. Depending on who's listening to this, if you're under 40, you might not, right? But Flip Wilson owned his own stuff. He lived on a certain amount of money. He says he would live on, I think it was like $1,000 a week. That's the what he gave himself. But he owned his own show. That was back then, brother owning his own stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And I think there's some Ray
Unheard of,
Charles
actually.
conversations around he owned his own stuff
Yep.
so that now he can maximize it in the way and it could feed his family for years to come. Somebody does a movie on his life, uses his music, he gets a check.
And this isn't a new concept. It's just a new concept to our people. That's what it is. It's a new concept to us. It's not something that we've ever seriously looked at, we've ever done. But the reality of it is, Black culture controls so much in this country. And when we show up, things happen. When we show up at the movie release, things happen. Box office numbers, records are broken. Sales go through the roof. Why not own some of those things if we're going to show up anyway? We might as well own a piece of that so that our families can benefit the way we're helping those families benefit who own the production and everything else that's happening.
Yeah. I love that one part. Let's pull into the Roland Martin section, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he briefly mentioned, and I remember Boyce Watkins did the same thing. He had mentioned, he says, there's no way that Taraji P. Henson, with her gravitas, with her name recognition, that she should ever have to ask to be paid more.
Absolutely.
Now, don't get me wrong, she should be paid more. But the fact that if you built out the platform right, and I think she recognized it because it's my understanding, I heard this, that she fired her staff because they weren't able to leverage her time on a very popular show properly to the point where she don't have to ask or do a what's that not interview, but what do they do when they the table reads and all that kind of stuff when you have audition.
Yep.
Right. And I says, what do you mean she's auditioning? Either you're showing up and I'm saying I'm Taraji P and I'm not. So I thought about that a lot. And I started asking myself, man, what could be created? Now here's the business opportunity for y'all. What could be created? What could you spin up that all it does is leverages that person so that they can make money no matter where they go, no matter what they do, that they can continually make money. And I also thought about dude that, even dudes that do bad actor things, right? Poor Jonathan Majors, his life. So, you know what I mean? His money making opportunities over. He has no leveraged opportunities.
Yeah.
Nothing that's out there making him money because when he shows up now, people are going toxic. Nope, can't do it. Cancel, whatever.
Yep.
And it just breaks my heart to see, things like that occur with people and they have nothing to fall back on, right? They have no digital real estate that they can go, hey, that's not my name on it, but it's still making me money.
Yeah.
So I wonder, what
that intentionality is needed. We don't have enough intentionality there. I mean, whether it's athletes, entertainment, small business owners, whatever, there needs to be an intentionality that says, if I'm going to create something, and maybe I don't have the full ownership from the day one because I'm learning and understanding these business things. But at some point in this journey, you got to learn how to keep some of those assets that you're creating, because that's going to be the thing that changes your life going forward.
Yeah. I think I heard that once with I think it was either Stephen King or it was the other guy that sells a gazillion books, that he will license this stuff, the books, to them for a period of time, and then they get them all
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yep.
ooh, that's brilliant. You get them back. So, Grand Central or whatever will publish it for 5 years.
Yes.
Or you'll go in and says, I own the international rights as well, because they'll take that and go international and make a gazillion dollars while they're paying you. And I
Yep.
started thinking about this stuff. So, okay, my cupcake and beads bracelet business owners, metaphor for these kind of businesses, we will help you as much as we possibly can. This is our call to action, right?
Yeah.
This ain't selling. This is just telling.
That's
We
it.
do this all day long, right?
Yep.
And why I wanted to have Chris come on as our, the special guest on the Two Business Guys Masterminds, because the wealth that he brings in having done stuff in
I've created in
combination
all
with,
these different lanes. I've created in these
yes,
lanes. I own in all these lanes. I've never sold, or I shouldn't say that. I've sold businesses before, but I've never created something and just gave it away for someone to benefit off of. We've reaped the benefits first before we've decided to sell it. and,
yeah,
and we'll build the system in it, and then we will sell you the system and let you then use the system that we just created for the right amount of money.
yeah,
And then we take those resources back in, and now I don't necessarily have to go over here and ask for support or ask a bank for money. We can self-fund some of those projects ourselves now and keep all of the money that comes in from that without paying the interest or the bank loan or whatever the case may be. So it just depends on the project. But yeah, to your point, I mean, I'm involved in a number of different spaces right now. We've got new things that's going to be announced here in the coming weeks. We've got new projects that are going to be announced this year. All stuff that we just line these projects up, and we're continuing to build out the portfolio every year.
yeah. And that's how you look at it. That right there.
Yeah.
Look at it like a portfolio. All the things you could start, right? Because
Yep.
somebody literally asked me yesterday, says, Randy, with all that you do, how do you have time to go over and teach,
Mm-hmm.
3
I get that
classes?
question all the
And I
time.
says, well, when we're off from teaching, I
Yep.
go into full body mode, right? I
Yep.
just go and I create as much as I can that I can automate.
And I'll even go a step further with that, Randy. You create things that don't require you to have to show up every day.
Right.
And I think that's the beauty in it. And so when the person is asking a question like, how do you have time to do all this? They've started to realize that we're not having to show up 9 to 5 every day to manage
Right.
these things. We're creating things that work off of a system, that work off of a software, that are all automated, or have staffing or other people or employees plugged into them that we leverage. That then makes it all go without us having to be there every second of the day. And so
Look,
that is the beauty of it, is being a visionary, carrying that vision, building out the right pieces, and then making it all go.
man, I was just on YouTube earlier today, and I do the Saturday webinars, right? And
Mm-hmm.
various subjects. And today, it actually, my software worked real well because it showed up on YouTube, right? But I did this live and I was talking about this. I says, listen, speed is everything. I said, so you get an idea at 2 a.m. I want you to be able to create that whole idea, build out a landing page really, really quickly, and or when you get to the point where you can have your team do it, now you're directing them. You've got your SOPs. You got, hey, do it like this. Here's the web place I want, the builder I want to use. Here's what I want to put on there. Here's the pictures, and just go about your business, right? Get out there, start promoting it if that's what you're going to be doing. Or if you got more time than you got money at the beginning, fine. Then
Yep.
you can build this out quickly. And I literally showed them how to build it out, how to go from idea to online in less than
Nice.
an hour.
Yeah, that's
And I
good.
showed it. It wasn't done to this, he's just saying that. I says, come on.
That's
And
good.
then I says, you got no idea? Here's a place you can get ideas. So I took up probably 15 minutes just doing that.
Right.
And I says, okay, what's next is I'm going to show you how to build this thing out. I'm going to show you everything I use. Let me ask you this, Chris.
Good.
When working with entrepreneurs, doesn't matter where they are in their journey, do you still find that they don't know what to do next.
Oftentimes, yeah. And I think a part of the reason why a lot of entrepreneurs that we work with don't have the answer as to what to do next or don't know is because they're not functioning from an entrepreneurial mindset. They're functioning from an employee mindset. And an employee's mindset is I show up at 9 a.m., I do this job description that's been given to me, and I go home at 5.
Mhm.
But in the midst of that 8 hour shift that I'm doing this, if I don't have the answer, I don't get paid to figure it out. I can ask a manager, and
Mhm.
they get paid to figure it out and then tell me what to do next, and then I do. Versus an entrepreneurial mindset, there is no one to call.
Mhm.
You are the one to call. So that means it's the complete opposite. So I show up, I do a job. But when something goes wrong, my job as the entrepreneur is to become the problem solver.
Mhm.
And the better problem solver I become, the better of an entrepreneur I become. And then I can train my team to become problem solvers when needed in those same situations or scenarios, which then creates the time freedom. Because now I don't have to be there to solve that problem. They know how to solve it themselves and just update me later if needed. So that oftentimes I believe is a big part of what causes that person to not have the next step, or why they need to call to ask what should I do next, or what is the next thing that I work on. That's why, because
Man.
you have not developed the entrepreneurial mindset and become an extremely good problem solver. You're still managing and working from an employee mindset where someone needs to tell you what the next thing is that you're going to do on your shift.
And that's reaction, right?
Yep.
I think if we had to distinguish, hey, if someone said to us, hey, what's the big difference between an entrepreneur and an employee? I'd say, well, one is proactive and one is reactive.
Absolutely.
Guess which one is reactive,
Yep.
right? So you're constantly putting out fires. You're constantly
100%.
reacting to the environment. You're constantly reacting to blah, 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 right? But as a entrepreneur, when you get those systems in place, right? And Chris is a big system person, right? From the beginning, I want you to build out a map of how you see your business going. Chris, talk a little bit about that. Because when I first saw it, I was like, man, I'm not doing that because I don't know yet. And then
Yeah.
you says it's best to visualize it, and it's that what do you call it, Chris, when you're doing the boxes and the hierarchy and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, the org chart.
Org chart. That's right.
Yeah, mapping out an organizational chart that says here you are as the entrepreneur, then you've got your level of management and whoever that is, and then you've got your level of workers or staff. Now, when most entrepreneurs start this, a lot of these are going to have question marks because oftentimes you're the only one in your business, or you may have one other person who will assist or help out here and there. That's okay. The goal is not to fill all the boxes today. The goal is to paint the picture of where the
Mhm.
business is going so you have a sense of direction. When I
Mhm.
show up, you can say, Chris, this is what it looks like. We're going to do this, this, and this, and I need to be able to fill these kind of roles, and then they're going to do this, and this is how I'm going to get to my first million.
Mm.
Okay, that makes sense to me. So now that we've identified the org chart, now we've got to map out the customer process. And Randy, I think this is where your conversations around funnels kick in. You've got to map out the customer process and what their journey is going to look like. So, for example, I see this on Facebook. Okay. I see the ad. Okay. Now what? What am I supposed to do next? I see the ad. I have interest. What do you, as the business, want me to do now?
Mm.
Because I'm waiting for you to tell me. So there should be a button that says learn more. There should be a button that says reserve here, book now, send us a message, something. I click that button and it takes me to the next door to do another thing. So once I get in there,
Yeah.
what is the next thing that you want me to do? And the goal is you want to take me through enough of these things where I can learn so much information or enough information that when I finally get to the end, I say enough is enough. Show me where to take my money. Like take my money. I'm ready to buy. That is the goal. And so we want to be able to map out that customer's journey on paper so you can look at it and say, here is how I'm going to get the customer from seeing me the first time, let's go to lunch, to then getting me to the end result, let's get married. That's the process of a customer's journey.
Man, and I tell you what you just learned right now. Now, this has been less than an hour, y'all, and we're
Yeah,
gonna wrap it up, but we've given you the framework, and it's like anything. Get yourself the blueprint, and you get in a better position to build the house.
that's
Now, if
it.
you need somebody to come in and go, yeah, maybe you want to put an extra rivet there, we'll help you. Because this is what we do all day long, right? Now that we're going to charge you for that, but we'll help you. But
Yep.
in the meantime, you've got enough right now to literally go, okay, I got it. I get it. I'm going to
Yep.
get an idea and I'm going to learn how to build out rapidly. I'll leave some links to stuff that you can do this with, right? Okay. I see two guys that have done it. I can call them. Yes,
Absolutely.
right? We're experts in that field, right? Then we say, okay, all right, but do I understand as an entrepreneur, I'm going to need a journey map? Isn't that like anything? Now, if you know how to get to Chicago, I love to use this example, great. But the train knows even better because it
Yeah.
does it all the time. Go get on the train. So you save yourself time. And while on the train, you then have time to relax and do other stuff. Okay, so
That's
that's like us coming in building you that map. Now we also say is that okay, when you get to where you're going, do you have? I like to use this a gold analogy. I heard this guy talk about this once. He says, okay, make sure they got a shovel, make sure they got a map, and then ask them if they need a guide.
mm,
And you go, yes, but first let them know that there's gold in them dark hills. This is just how he did it. So that's not mine, y'all. He says, this is what's out there. In other words, we're telling you content creation, right? Gary Vee's been telling you forever.
yeah.
Content creation, do that. Take that shovel, reutilize it forever, repurpose it forever. Okay, you need somebody to help you show you how? Guide. It's that simple.
Yeah.
I'm putting together this thing called the Entrepreneur's To-Do List. Now, y'all can beat me to this if you want. I don't care. If I've gotten lazy and I haven't done it in time for this video to come out, then y'all go build it. But it's literally do this, do this, do this. Now, we got apps, we got GPTs, we got AI that can help with some of that. But
Yep.
you still gotta build.
Yeah.
Those will help you think. Those will help build some parts, but you got to get in there and decide I'm not going to have a cupcakes and beads bracelet business
Yep.
that's just going to be consumed and pooped out or pulled on and broken. I'm going to build something that I can eat on forever and then pass on. That part's
Sustainability.
up to y'all. And we invite you. Personally, we invite you to get into this information, rewind, do what you got to do. We'll leave links to our stuff. Chris is going to have a copy of it on his platforms
Hmm.
to come in and ask those questions. If you think we're full of canal water, I like to use that term. That's fine. Just say, those dudes are full of canal water. I ain't listening to none of their stuff. But if we're not,
That's
and you
funny.
see it and you can like visualize it, then jump into it. Start something today. Build. That's all I got, Chris. I appreciate you coming on, man. You got
Yeah.
last words for him before we take off?
Oh man, I think I would give the thing that I said earlier. Most entrepreneurs are focused on trying to sell, 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 buy my stuff, buy my stuff. Think less sell, think more systems.
Hmm.
Think less sell, think more systems. Focus on building better systems that sell for you instead of you having to do all the legwork yourself. You do that, you'll make far more money, you'll get far more freedom, and the business will become sustainable without you having to be the thing that makes it all move. I think that's probably the biggest nugget I could give right now is really thinking from that lens of it. Again, less sale, more system.
Hey, I don't have anything to add to that. I agree 100%. Hopefully, y'all take this information and put it into action, right? Have a bias toward action. No
That's
more
it.
thinking.
Yep.
Once you're learning it,
Yep.
creating it, and then placing it somewhere where you can get paid. All right,
That's
everybody.
it.
We'll talk to you next time.